Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. It is a nice Monday evening, very nice, very warm. Still feels like it's summer, but it still somehow is getting darker sooner here where I am. So, anyway, we're not here to talk about that. Bitcoin has continued rising since last night. Today we had a very beautiful God candle over here, 1.54% up. In total, it's about 2%, another 2% rise, which takes us up to our resistance level that I was able to let you guys know we were going to see a bit of a slowdown right over here at 114,000. The current price of Bitcoin, 114,497, almost 500. And we did climb a little higher, actually. We went to 114,786. For whatever reason, the price refuses to come back down, but that is fine. At the current moment, I feel like we will pause the rise a little bit. We should. We are very oversold at the moment. Not very, 75 on the RSI. But usually this is an indicator that the momentum is kind of dying out. It can't go up forever, so we should see a bit of a retracement. From here, how low can we go? Maybe 113 again. We'll hover around those areas until we figure out what is new here. Because we're going to have to make another lower high, sorry, before we can continue higher, right? Because that's how the uptrends work. And based off of that is where you draw wherever your uptrend is going to be in that scenario. So all we can do right now is really just wait. Super trend is on the rise. It is in the green. It has been in the green since last night. Currently, it's at 110,000, so we have to wait and see where that will continue rising. I would assume maybe 111. I could be wrong. I really don't know at this point. It'll decide on its own whenever it wants to stop. In terms of like where we are headed in terms of price, I think we should see a slowdown. A little bit of a pause right here. I checked liquidation levels yesterday, and I'm going to review those again right here today, because this one over here was kind of predicted by us, just based off of looking at this liquidation level over here, right? We're seeing lots of liquidations to be done that would take us directly to 114,000, and that is where I mentioned we could see a bit of a slowdown. Ultimately, that's where we are right now. The price continued to rise nonetheless, so, you know, that's why we kind of hovered around this area right over here. High 113, low 114,000. And the movement seems to be really good that we just continue slowly creeping up, right? The big candles that you're seeing, this one, has to do with the liquidations. These smaller ones over here are just over time prices gradually increasing because people are optimistic again, no longer fearful. Believe it or not, I forgot to check this on the Fear and Greed Index yesterday with you guys, but yeah, we were down here in the fear zone at around 109,000. If we are fearful that Bitcoin is at 109,000, that's way too bullish, right? People are scared that the price is very high. 109,000, that's still pretty high for Bitcoin, right? So that's the way I've been looking at it, and it's clear bottom indicator, something I forgot to mention in yesterday's stream. There's a lot of stuff actually I didn't really get to fully cover in yesterday's stream, so you're going to hear me talk about that a bit. I'll be like, oh look, this post, whenever I get to my news section, has to do with what I mentioned yesterday, so... That being said, we do have new developments that came out today, so it's not all just going to be a reminiscing of last stream, but yeah, we will move on. There's a lot more to talk about. My portfolio is slowly starting to turn a little green. World Liberty Finance has done me dirty. It's the only one that's come down for whatever reason, and we're basically at my entry price. Should have taken profits over here. I was basically live at this hour, but yeah, I'll leave my take profit there. I stand by it. If the super trend does come a little lower, maybe I'll reduce it, but for the time being, no, I don't think so. I'll leave it up here. I think it's fine. Ethereum finally started turning green for me, so that's great. It was slightly green yesterday when we were streaming, and I think it was over here, yeah. And now we are definitely green. Super trend has been flipped to the green as well. My entry price is 4,133. The price of Ethereum is 4,205. So I'm enjoying a nice $156 gain. I still don't like Ethereum. I still stand by that. It's whatever. But yeah, it's still there. I know it will do good, so I'll just take the exposition to it anyway. Because I saw we were at like a low 4,000 that was like, you know what, now's a good time to be buying into these dips when price becomes oversold, as you'll note in the RSI chart, right? Over here and over here. So those are the areas I decided to take advantage. My average price was not perfect, but it's still pretty good. So I'm not too disappointed. We have still enough space to climb, and that would lead us to the real downtrend that we have drawn out over here before we maybe see price becoming overpurchased and start to retrace a little bit. So I feel like that would be around 4,340, right? Around that area. We could see a bit of a slowdown as we approach 4,400 realistically. I don't know where specifically to put this. I could realistically just draw a Fibonacci from our all-time high. Barely all-time high, by the way. Does that give us any insight? Yeah, slightly. 4,400 is definitely a resistance. I feel like we might actually, you know what? Forget this. We might actually just break out of this downtrend because we technically do have a confirmation of that due to the super trend already flipping green. So people will understand we're no longer in a downtrend. We'll see a slowdown at the 4,400. We'll do the classic, you know, bounce off of the downtrend and then we'll continue higher kind of deal. That's my little projection on Ethereum for you, so enjoy. I will also be... Actually, I don't want to undo too much. I have to just manually delete these. Still doing the one-handed mic thing. I tried rearranging my room a little, but it's still not perfect. I need a new desktop entirely, like an actual desk, so I could put more space, more stuff on. But yeah, because right now there's a big empty area in my room that I would like filled up. Whatever. You guys can't see anyway, so. Moving on to Solana. Has not moved up too much today. 1.18%. 211 is the current price. My entry is still at 207. Not much has really changed over here. Resistance to 16 to 217, around that area I'd look for. Or maybe exactly where we just hit. We're currently encountering the resistance. Negative funding rate, by the way. I noticed this on Bitcoin too. Negative funding rates, also bottom indicators. This means that there are more people shorting than there are longing. What happens when an asset goes up? Eventually, all those shorts will get squeezed and we will explode higher. That's the good stuff we want to see. I don't know what else to mention about here. Solana. We do need a confirmation above 218, of course, to confirm the trend reversal for sure. Because realistically, we could just bounce off of this line. The high was 214.79. This high is 214.81 resistance. So, you know, something like that could happen. But I don't think so, to be honest. A lot of stuff are pointing toward the upside. I can't tell you what tomorrow will bring. It seems to be a basic regular day like we've seen today, right? And it seems like, I don't know, futures market are treating us nicely, so that's the good stuff. What else we got? Research coin. This coin I just entered because it was really new, and I'm like, maybe I'll make something out of it. Like Aster, like Avantis, no, like Apex. I don't know, one of those coins that just keeps taking off as soon as they get listed because they continuously get listed on and on again. But no, not in this case. And unfortunately, there's a resistance right at my entry price. This is currently a resistance where we are right now at 49 cents for this coin. Research coin. I don't know too much about the project. I just saw it was new. I saw it's not a meme. It seems like it's got some utility. So I decided to enter. That's all there is to it. XRP. Technically still in a downtrend. 288 the current price. We need to be above 295. Huge resistance around here, though, before we break out of $3 psychologically. So that's going to be an issue. Alright, what else do I got? Sui. No movement from Sui either today, surprisingly. Solana and Sui really gotta pick it up again, eventually. Hey, late start, but you know when they start late, but eventually they catch up, and when they do, it's pretty explosive. So be on the lookout for that, for Sui and Solana. I still think they're good prices to enter, even at Sui's level right here, 326. It's better than what I have as my average price, 332. And I've been DCAing very cautiously, except for that one time where I bought above. But that's besides the point. So yeah, high hopes for Sui. Not a big movement from Chainlink either today. Seems like only Bitcoin was the one that had a large move. Anything else specifically that had a good 24-hour change? That is not a meme coin or new. I don't see any, to be honest. Nothing special, honestly. Okay. Fair enough. Wait, what is dropping today? Just curious. Please, let me see. Anything important? Avantis is dropping 25%. Uh-oh. That's crazy. Might be a good entry here, actually. Might actually be a good entry here. Avantis is the Coinbase DEX, right? I think the DEX talk is kind of getting boring, though, at this point. I see less and less people talking about it. Yeah, 109. A little bit can't hurt, right? What's RSI level at? 30, exactly 30. Want to take the risk? It's there. Yeah, no, I'm going to stick to what I mentioned way before, is that I'll just stay away from DEXs completely as much as I can. Too speculative, too crazy, whatever. I'll stay out of it for now. I want to also check what else we've got going on for Sonic. Not a big amount of movements either. 24 still. It broke a resistance over here. 25, that is true, but came back down a little bit, trying to attempt to get back up there again. And Aptos is also on its way back up, little by little. I can probably change this. Does not look pretty, but that's the price action, I guess. There we go. Looks rough, but yeah. Very, very shallow uptrend. For Aptos, we got a resistance at 440. I think we can get rid of this. And I will also draw a Fibonacci and a daily chart. Because we did hit another low ever since August, so this would have been a great opportunity for buying into Aptos, by the way. I tried to take as much advantage of it as I could. Yeah, and we're currently at a resistance at 430 right now. That explains the rise to 432, drop back down to 425. My average entry is 428, so I'm hovering around there, trying to stay positive. Like on the chart and also mentally, right? What else we got? I don't really see much else to talk about. Not a lot of crazy movements, honestly, for most of these. Stellar, I guess. Same deal to what we're seeing with Aptos. Resistance at my entry, kinda. 37, 38. Yeah, really, we just gotta wait. There is a bit of, well, there's good news that has been announced. A lot of bullish projections to talk about. And also something that could ruin this week in terms of what we're expecting for non-farm payroll data, jobless claims, all that economic data that will be coming out on Friday. Very important day. So yeah, that's all I could really say for price action. Like the only big mover was Bitcoin in my eyes. Rest of the coins are just, yeah, they're gradually increasing, but not entirely. Negative funding rate on Bitcoin. Beautiful. Bottom indicators in that sense. All right, I'll move on to my new section here because, like I said, we've got to talk about some stuff. We have a 100% tariff imposed by Trump on movies specifically, not just Canada. This post talks about Canada, but yeah, it affects countries, any other country that isn't the United States, of course. Trump posted this saying, "Our movie making business has been stolen from the United States of America by other countries, just like stealing candy from a baby." California, with its weak and incompetent governor, talking about Gavin Newsom, he has been particularly hard hit. Therefore, in order to solve this long-time, never-ending problem, I will be imposing a 100% tariff on any and all movies that are made outside of the United States. There you go. There was talks about this many months ago of the idea of imposing tariffs on movies created outside the United States. And people were getting scared, and I forgot exactly how it impacted the market. Something to do with like the movie companies, specifically with stocks, right? Movies and entertainment businesses, I guess, like Netflix and all that. And there was a bit of uncertainty there because it's like, okay, what if, do we have to film in the United States? Because, I don't know, if we want to film Mount Everest, we're going to have to go over there. Or if, any other place in the world. Or do we, is it okay if we film anywhere else in the world as long as we group up headquarter in the United States and edit or whatever we have to do, special effects, all that in the United States? Will that count, right? Like, it's a bit of a gray area, so that's what people were nervous about. I don't hear much people talking about it now, but the tariffs seem to be in effect, so enjoy that. Another thing that happened today is that Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, has visited the White House. How many times has it been? 1, 2, 3, 4 times, I think. So he's a regular here. Trump welcomed him in, and they started discussing, and with the press, Trump said that the United States is discussing with Israel not only a settlement in Gaza, but a broader resolution for the entire Middle East, aiming to achieve what he called eternal peace. And apparently, Bibi Netanyahu has agreed to Trump's Gaza plan, saying, "I also want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for agreeing to the plan." Netanya, hello. Anyway, Trump introduces Tony Blair into the mix. We'll do it right. One of the people that wants to be on board is a UK former Prime Minister, Tony Blair. Good man, very good man. And some others, and they'll be named over the next few days, I guess, for helping with this Gaza conflict resolution, right? Trump said that he will fully support Israel if Hamas rejects the proposed deal to end the conflict in Gaza. So it's basically like, okay, I've made a plan to end this war. Obviously, the two parties in the war have to agree to those terms in order to end the war. Israel has fully agreed with it. Now it's up to Hamas. Will Hamas agree to do whatever they ask and end this war? If yes, good, we've ended the war. If not, Trump will fully support Israel, supply them with weapons, help them with defense, whatever the case may be, to just, I don't know, complete their war thing that's going on there by just, I don't know, blowing everything up or whatever has to be done. And also he called the decision by some European friends to recognize Palestine a foolish move. Of course, I'm sure he's saying this to look good in front of Netanyahu as well. Funnily enough, Canada not mentioned in here. Some European friends. Yeah, alright, cool. That's all that's really mentioned on that. And if you're wondering what exactly the plan is, this is the plan. It's a big one, so just bear with me. And it's the first time I'm going to be reading it too, so I'll live react as I go through it. So, here's the plan to end the Gaza conflict. Gaza will be a de-radicalized, terror-free zone that does not pose a threat to its neighbors. You know what? Sure. I'm pretty sure every country should do that where we're not posing a threat to our neighbors. Obviously. Second, Gaza will be redeveloped for the benefit of the people of Gaza who have suffered more than enough. Sure, compensate the people who have suffered and gone through war. Obviously, like loss of life and family, whatever the case may be, there's nothing that can compensate for that. I'm guessing like that as long as they do end this war, you know, things will move on. They will help rebuild and look forward to a brighter future where this does not have to happen again, kind of deal. Sure. Number 3, if both sides agree to this proposal, the war will immediately end. Cool. Israeli forces will withdraw to the agreed upon line to prepare for a hostage release. During this time, all military operations, including aerial and artillery bombardment, will be suspended, and battle lines will remain frozen until conditions are met for the complete staged withdrawal. Cool, yeah, because you gotta return the hostages. Number 4, within 72 hours of Israel publicly accepting this agreement, all hostages, alive and deceased, will be returned. So it's a process that will only take no more than 72 hours. Number 5, once all hostages are released, Israel will release 250 life sentence prisoners plus 1,700 Gazans who were detained after October 7, 2023, including all women and children detained in that context. For every Israeli hostage whose remains are released, Israel will release the remains of 15 deceased Gazans. What? Okay. Every Israeli hostage whose remains are released, Israel will release the remains of 15 deceased Gazans. So for every one dead body, they'll give back 15 dead bodies. I assume that's what that means. Sure. Number 6. Once all hostages are returned, Hamas members who commit to peaceful coexistence and to decommission their weapons will be given amnesty. Members of Hamas who wish to leave Gaza will be provided safe passage to receiving countries. They're basically going to have to willfully self-deport, is what it seems like, without any major punishment, I suppose, right? It's just that they have to disband and leave. Sure. If that's what's required for peace. Upon acceptance of this agreement, full aid will be immediately sent into the Gaza Strip. At minimum, aid quantities will be consistent with what was included in the January 19 agreement of this year regarding humanitarian aid, rehabilitation of infrastructure, water, electricity, sewage, rehabilitation of hospitals and bakeries, and entry of necessary equipment to remove rubble and open roads. Good, yeah. Number 8, entry of distribution and aid in the Gaza Strip will proceed without interference from the two parties through the United Nations and its agencies. Good, put them to work. And the Red Crescent, in addition to other international institutions not associated in any manner with any party. Opening the Rafah crossing in both directions will be subject to the same mechanism implemented under the January 19 agreement. The Rafah is, I think, the passage between Egypt and Gaza, which was fully taken control by Hamas during that time, where allegedly they were like taking the humanitarian aid and like over like just keeping it for themselves, making the other people in Gaza starve, stuff like that. And also, I don't know, some tunnels in there, something like that. People were against it, but people were against Israel taking over that. They now occupy that area to allow the humanitarian aid to cross, or whatever the case is. Something like that. I'm not too well informed on it, but yeah. Number 9. Gaza will be governed under the temporary transitional governance of a technocratic, apolitical Palestinian committee responsible for delivering the day-to-day running of public services and municipalities for the people in Gaza. So they're establishing a new government, I guess, that is not going to go to war. This committee will be made up of qualified Palestinians and international experts, with oversight and supervision by a new international transitional body, the Board of Peace, which will be headed and chaired by, President Donald J. Trump, with other members and heads of state to be announced, including the former Prime Minister Tony Blair of England that we just mentioned. This body will set the framework and handle the funding for the redevelopment of Gaza until such time as the Palestinian Authority has completed its reform program, as outlined in various proposals, including President Trump's peace plan in 2020 and the Saudi-French proposal, and can securely and effectively take back control of Gaza. This body will call on best international standards to create modern and efficient governance that serves the people of Gaza and it's conducive to attracting investment. Of course, it's being run by businessmen now. A Trump economic development plan to rebuild and energize Gaza, wow, will be created by convening a panel of experts who have helped birth some of the thriving modern miracle cities in the Middle East. Businessman activity, isn't it? Especially Trump, who loves buildings. Many thoughtful investment proposals and exciting development ideas have been crafted by well-meaning international groups and will be considered to synthesize the security and governance frameworks to attract and facilitate these investments that will create jobs, opportunity, and hope for future Gaza. Good. That's what we want to... That's what should be the case. Gaza should be like... Instead of being a poor country, they should be rich and cool, like Dubai or Qatar or Saudi Arabia. I don't know. Like how those people live. They live in palaces. At least that's what it looks like to me. Number 11, a special economic zone will be established with preferred tariff and access rates to be negotiated with participating countries. Number 12, no one will be forced to leave Gaza. So they're not going to be doing the forced deportation thing. Those who wish to leave will be free to do so, and they will also be free to return. We will encourage people to stay and offer them the opportunity to build a better Gaza. That's interesting. Good. Number 13. How many more do we have? It's like 20. Okay. Oh boy. Bear with me, guys, please. Hamas and other factions agree to not have any role in the governance of Gaza, directly, indirectly, or in any form. So Hamas not allowed to be rulers. All military, terror, and offensive infrastructure, including tunnels and weapon production facilities, those will be destroyed and not rebuilt. So they're going to completely disarm whatever terrorist military action militia they've got going on in there. There will be a process of demilitarization of Gaza under the supervision of independent monitors, which will include placing weapons permanently beyond use through an agreed process of decommissioning and supported by an internationally funded buyback and reintegration program, all verified by the independent monitors. New Gaza will be fully committed to building a prosperous economy and to peaceful coexistence with their neighbors. Number 14. A guarantee will be provided by regional partners to ensure that Hamas and the factions comply with their obligations and that New Gaza poses no threat to its neighbors or its people. Is that what they're going to call it now? New Gaza? Imagine. It's like, what is it? New Mexico, right? That's a state. They would probably do the same with this. New Gaza. New York. New Hampshire. Anyway. Number 15. The United States will work with Arab and international partners to develop a temporary international stabilization force to immediately deploy in Gaza. This is what they're going to do. I'm not reading all that. Number 16. Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza. That is one thing that Trump made very clear, that he will not allow any expansion from Israel into the west side, and I explained that one yesterday. That's all it really is. Number 17. In the event Hamas delays or rejects this proposal, if they reject this, including the scaled-up aid operation, it will proceed in the terror-free areas handed over from the IDF to the ISF. Okay. This doesn't make any sense. What? If they delay or reject the proposal, including the scaled aid operation, will proceed. What? Do you mean we will proceed in the terror-free areas handed over from the IDF to the ISF? What? I don't know. It seems like an incomplete sentence here. I'm assuming it's based off of what Trump said is if they refuse to accept it, then he's just going to fully support Israel to do whatever they want, right? Number 18, an interfaith dialogue process will be established based on the values of tolerance and peaceful coexistence to try and change mindsets and narratives of Palestinians and Israelis by emphasizing the benefits that can be derived from peace. There was talks from Netanyahu about like the influence that Hamas has over Palestinians to make them hate the Jews, right? There's that whole issue, and they're going to work also to remove all of that propaganda to make the hate stop, is basically what I understood from it. Number 19, while Gaza redevelopment advances, and when the Palestinian Authority reform program is faithfully carried out, the conditions may finally be in place for a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood, which we recognize as the aspiration of the Palestinian people. Then we can recognize the Palestinian statehood, I guess, is what is trying to be said here. The United States, number 20, they will establish dialogue between Israel and the Palestinians to agree on a political horizon for peaceful and prosperous coexistence. And here are the lines drawn as to the IDF current line that is in control by the IDF. The withdrawal, the hostage release is there. The second withdrawal when the ISF mobilized per standards set in Trump plan. And the third withdrawal is the security buffer zone. So this little area border around it. Yeah, literally this. I was thinking about exactly this throughout that whole list. The AI video that Trump posted way earlier in the year, where it was, he literally already foreshadowed this whole plot. The rebuilding of Gaza, and he was putting like all these beaches where Gaza is and making all these tall Trump casino buildings, Trump Gaza, all these golden buildings all over the place. Alluding to basically that, and like, you know, people having fun and vacationing there, and it looked like a rich city all over again. And I think that is what it should be at the end of the day. I mean, like I said, look at cities like Dubai, right? I don't know, that's just me though. So in summary, what's in it for the Israelis? You get all your hostages back and you must end the war. What's in it for the Palestinians? You guys have to do a lot of different stuff here. You're allowed to leave if you want. You're not forced to leave. You're going to have to completely remove Hamas, completely disarm. No weapons, no underground tunnels, no military facilities allowed. We're going to have a lot of unbiased international aid to come in, help you guys clean up the mess, build new places, help you economically. We're going to have businessmen. We're going to have former UK Prime Minister. You're going to have Trump himself involved in the infrastructure decisions that it's going to have to help rebuild Gaza. And we're looking forward for a beautiful future for the Palestinians. And Hamas influence is not allowed completely. They're going to work to remove that so that there's no form of terrorism, I guess. Yeah. Let me know whatever you guys think about this. Me personally, I'm like, yes. Something's got to happen. Israel already accepts it. I don't know if Hamas is willing to just... Is basically, you're asking them to surrender for the cause of the people that are suffering in there. You're gonna have to do something for them. And if not, you're just gonna make matters worse, and who cares about you anymore after that, is what seems to be the message here. And yeah, they're gonna guarantee security between them with other international agencies that are unbiased, basically. Yep. Seems good. I'm going to keep this bookmarked because I think it's important to go back for reference. So that's the big Gaza thing. How long did I take talking about that? Pretty long. Okay, so Gaza, good. Depending, right? If Hamas accepts it, that would be awesome. Imagine if they do. That would kickstart the October thing that we're expecting. Do I expect one more dip before here? Not necessarily a massive correction like a huge crash or anything like that. I don't see what's going to cause that. Maybe like Hamas refuses that deal and they go even harder on the war and then Israel retaliates even harder. That I could probably understand, but it's a conflict that's been going on since 2023. Basically 2 years ago. We're coming up on October already. And that hasn't had too much of an impact on the markets. Only when Israel starts getting involved in other major conflicts, like the one with Iran multiple times, that we felt the pain of. That kind of crash is something that we can expect if things go south heavily. Like if Iran just suddenly decides to get involved again to, I don't know, defend Gaza, defend their Hamas people, maybe. That's the only way I could see this going bad. But other than that, like, it looks well, in my opinion. So I'm going to be optimistic about that whole situation. But don't be naive, of course. Have cash on side just in case anything goes wrong. You must buy the dips. Another thing that could affect markets. As of right now, the only thing I can see what this government shutdown narrative will cause is just uncertainty, sideways movement. Wherever we are, whether that's up or down, we're just going to be lateralizing for a moment, kind of trying to wait for this whole thing to blow over. JD Vance thinks that we are headed for a government shutdown. There's two scenarios how this may play out. One, the market freaks out. It gives you the classic 5% dip and that everyone thought would happen in August and September. I think money on the sidelines finally jumps at that dip. So if we do get a dip, it should correct pretty fast. And number two, the market focuses more on corporate earnings that will begin in 2 weeks, knows that government shutdowns eventually reopen and they will treat this as a nothing burger. I'm going for the latter. Overall, it is annoying, but I don't think it really affects the markets. That's why I just think if this does affect the markets, it's just going to be a bit of uncertainty, like just some lateralized sideways movement. But that's not all. Like, this can get worse. People are pricing, not really pricing in, but expecting, like on, is this Polymarket or Kalshi, whatever. The probability of a U.S. government shutdown has risen to 79% according to, yeah, it's Polymarket odds. Okay, cool. 79% chance we have a government shutdown. We already have over 100,000 federal workers set to formally resign tomorrow. And we also even had the top US crypto regulator, Adrienne Harris, stepping down. This one is a mixed result because I don't know if this is exactly bullish or bearish. Traders are split. Some see this as an opening for a softer regulatory stance, right? Because that position is opening up. Who's going to replace her? Probably somebody that's even more pro-crypto. While others brace for maybe a crackdown, depending on the next appointee. We don't know that yet. The sentiment in forums and media is mixed, with speculation running hot on possible policy shifts. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be a negative thing. I'm assuming Trump appoints whoever is going to be the US crypto regulators, and I'm sure he'll appoint the right person. But this is what can cause an impact is the Labor Department, the one that's in charge of economic data, the non-farm payrolls and unemployment rate that we're expecting on Friday, they say that if the government shuts down, it will suspend BLS data releases, including Friday's jobs report. I think that's going to be, I don't know. What do you guys think? Economic data getting delayed. Some people think, yeah, who cares about it anyway? But I think that's an important thing. We're supposed to expect volatility on those days. A lot of people are looking forward to it, right? And if that just gets pushed over or delayed, it's going to be like, okay, well, what do we do? Uncertainty. Markets hate uncertainty. So that's the way that I could see the government shutdown affecting crypto specifically. people say, well, who cares? They're always getting, the data always gets revised. It's always wrong anyway. But still, people are going to look at the numbers, the economic data. They look at that to determine the price, the rate cut probabilities, which I think we all really know by now that we are going to get our 3 rate cuts this year indeed. But I don't know. Some people like to gamble on it and are like yes or no on whether or not we'll get the 3rd rate cut in December. My stance on it hasn't really changed. I still think the odds are in our favor, so we should be fine. Now on to the bullish news. I've talked about this guy before, Young-hoon Kim. He is the world's highest IQ record holder and Grandmaster of Memory. There's only one thing that's a bit self-centered of this guy is like every tweet that he posts is as the world's highest IQ record holder. It's like, okay, you don't gotta brag every time, but sure, I guess if you want to be famous because you have that title, I can understand you bragging about it a little bit, but don't make it too excessive. Nonetheless, this is what he had to say about Bitcoin, actually. He said that I believe Bitcoin is the only hope for the future economy. Therefore, I have converted all my assets into Bitcoin. But everything I possess belongs only to the Lord Jesus and will be used for his glory. Okay, that's based. Cool. And also, he did it. Like, he fully trusts in Bitcoin. This is the smartest guy in the world, I guess. And there's other people who don't believe Bitcoin is still worth anything, right? But he's putting his money where his mouth is, and I guess that kind of reinforces the beliefs of everybody else. What, do you think you have a higher IQ than the world's highest IQ record holder? No, you don't. This guy knows more than you, and he thinks Bitcoin is the future, so he's going all in. I'm not saying you should go all in, but, you know, should incentivize you to do something. Again, this is me talking about stuff I talked about yesterday, but yes, Arthur Hayes. I couldn't find this post yesterday, so I'm bringing it up now. On, like, his crazy price predictions and why he's sketchy for basically not waiting, I guess, for his price predictions. To the point where Hyperliquid is trying to blacklist this guy, which is funny. He thinks that Bitcoin is going to $3.4 million by 2028. I think that's way too aggressive. Way too high of a record, and that's the kind of stuff that he does. He'll buy Bitcoin, then he'll be like, guys, Bitcoin is going to $3 million in 3 years. And then, of course, people will see them like, oh, he must be right. The average person that doesn't know or understand the maths. And then they'll buy, and then he'll sell. Right? And he did the same thing with Hyperliquid token. So that's why people were upset about it. Crazy price prediction on Hyperliquid is what he did, and then he ends up selling early, like recently. He sold the top, and then he just rebought at the bottom. He was planning to rebuy at the bottom, I think, but now he's probably going to get blacklisted off the site, which is funny. Keep in mind, President Trump, he also has 9.5% of his net worth in Bitcoin and crypto. So, I don't know. I'd like to think Trump is a really smart guy, but world record IQ holder, whatever his name was. I think I saw he was going to change his name to Charlie in honor of Charlie Kirk, because he really likes him. So, I guess, do we call him that now? I don't know if that post was a joke or anything. I was going through his feed, and that's what I saw. So maybe it's true. He presented the paperwork and everything, so it seems legal that he's changing his name to Charlie. But yeah, if he is willing to do that, fully commit to Bitcoin, change all his assets into Bitcoin, yeah, I don't know. Smartest guy in the world. And also don't forget Trump. He also has some faith in crypto. I don't think... Some people think it's like, oh, he's just doing that to get the vote of the crypto bros. But not only did he do that, but he also did help with all this new regulation. Seems to be getting softer. Sure, the tariffs didn't really help, but that's not really his fault. It's the fault of the Wall Street investors because we've imported them into the markets. What, you want ETFs to get approved for your little token? Yeah, that's going to be Wall Street investors that are going to be buying into that ETF. And the minimal tariff that you get applied into the country, Wall Street is going to sell, whether you like it or not. And they're going to do that through the ETFs that got approved because you wanted it to get approved so that you get more volume in the markets. You wanted more volume in the crypto markets. There you go. The big bucks enter in those regulated, markets, the ETFs markets, right? That's basically what I'm trying to say. Trump also thinks Bitcoin is the new oil. He mentioned that last year. So, yeah, I think it's genuine. Secretary Paul Atkins. Remember Gary Gensler? That guy wanted nothing to do with crypto. But apparently, speaking of, just on a side note, Gary Gensler, ex-SEC chair, he is actually pro-Bitcoin now. Now that he doesn't have to worry about conceding his words because he has a very important position in the US regulatory government, now he's like, yeah, you know what? I fully support Bitcoin and all that. And he was the main antagonist of companies like XRP, like Ripple, right? That lawsuit that lasted ages. So, well, anyway, now he's gone. Trump said he's going to fire Gary Gensler on day one. And essentially, yeah, that did happen too, keep in mind. So, yeah, Trump did technically help the crypto markets in that sense. He appointed this guy, Paul Atkins. And he is saying that crypto is his number one priority right now. This is a recent statement from him. So, right on time, pal. Right on time for October. There we go. Michael Saylor also buying Bitcoin. Although this is a really, really low amount to what we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing hundreds of millions of dollars, sometimes billions, actually. I don't even know if he's ever bought billions. He probably has. I think he has before. But anyway, over the weekend, we already saw the chart from yesterday, so it was confirmed that he would be buying more today. 196 Bitcoins, $22 million at an average price of 113,000. No, we would not have seen this price then. Never mind. So yeah, he did that there. They now have 640,000 Bitcoins. And that's nothing number. That means he owns more than 3% of the total Bitcoin supply, Michael Saylor and his company. So he just purchased another 20 million, which we just saw, and now they hold a total of $72 billion worth of Bitcoin, which is 3% of its total supply right now. He's getting up there, so good on him. Here are some projections of the Bitcoin power curve cycle cloud, which helps, like, it averages out. Let me go rewind to this. Oh, there's audio on it. Let me turn it off. Okay, so it takes the first cycle, right? It averages out its movements with the next cycles that we have experienced in Bitcoin, every bull run specifically, and you map it out onto this chart over here. It's all highlighted here. You average it out into the black line, and this is what we are to expect for Bitcoin's price, which takes us really close to 200,000 by the end of this year, 2025. So just taking historical data, averaging it out, and mapping it out in today's numbers, it seems like that is the return that we are expecting. And I explained this in percentages yesterday as well. But this is just a visual chart for you guys to, reinforce that idea. I also talked about the M2 money supply chart, the fact that we were decoupling so heavily, and the fact also that we're not seeing any of this money come into Bitcoin yet, right? If we have record high numbers of global M2 money supply, all that money, I know there's a bit of a delay. This is obviously a delayed movement, 80-day offset. That money still has not yet come into Bitcoin. And historically, it's resembled the price pretty accurately just until recently, of course. I don't know exactly which date this is, but the decoupling has happened, I'm pretty sure, since August, right? So it's just about time that Bitcoin tries to catch up. And if it does, like if we go catch up to it, like say tomorrow, or not even tomorrow, just end of this year, it's looking 150, 160, 170,000, maybe even 200,000 by end of year. I don't know if we're actually going to hit 200,000. I would say like base case 150,000. I'm being super conservative with it. I always explain my targets at 135,000. I've given my reasons for that. I'm just going to play it safe and keep it there just in case, right? We're still seeing gold hit new all-time highs, 3,833 an ounce. We do know that Bitcoin and Ethereum will follow it soon. It's not only gold, but it's also silver. I'll just pull up the charts here now that we're talking about it. And we do know that Bitcoin follows that kind of movement. All-time high for gold, and it's still going, 3,850. I don't have silver here. Silver. Give me this one. It's not necessarily all-time highs, but because we did hit a higher level before. Or is it? Is it actually all-time highs? I don't have enough historical data. Here we are. Yeah, it's not necessarily... Oh, no, it is. Oh, it is. No, almost. Okay, 49 is our actual all-time high, which we hit in 2011, guys. This is a really long time ago. And now, just now, we're approaching those levels again. We're at 46. We're so close to 49 all-time high. So if you see silver hit $50, yeah, that's confirmed all-time high. These commodities are doing really well because of things like the rate cuts, right? People are now willing to, I guess they want to buy precious metals first before they're like, okay, yeah, gold is overvalued. It's at all-time highs. What is this digital gold I keep hearing about? What is this Bitcoins stuff? I want to buy it, and then they will, and will go higher. Another catalyst as to why we should be happy. Next pump that we get will be sponsored by FTX. This is probably one of the main reasons why we are actually pumping in recent hours, is because we are expecting a $5 billion payout, repayment, from FTX to their creditors in stablecoins tomorrow. That's pretty good stuff. FTX, I'm sure you know about it, but just in case you don't, it's an crypto exchange that collapsed because the founder, Sam Bankman-Fried, who is now in jail, he was using customer funds to party in Bahamas. And eventually when people wanted to withdraw, we're like, hey, we don't have your funds anymore, haha. And then the exchange collapsed and their token collapsed. Alameda Research, whatever, everybody involved, all went to jail. Sam Bankman-Fried is still in jail. Eventually he'll tweet like a good morning and pump his token 12%, which I don't even know why you could still trade the token, but yeah, it exists. And anyways, he has to pay back all the money that he stole. It's been many years. This is a thing that happened in 2022, I think. That's what caused major catalyst of the bear market. Everybody was scared to have their money on exchanges anymore because of what happened to this specific exchange. But when a bank run happens, nobody's afraid to keep their money in the banks, am I right? I'm afraid to keep my money in the bank. Anyways. It's fine for banks because governments bail them out, but not for crypto. You're on your own in that case. So he has to repay it all, and they've been repaying it in small chunks. It's happened a couple of times throughout the year, and it's that time of the year again. We're about to get it again. So tomorrow, $5 billion in stablecoins will be entering the market. What will people do with that? Hopefully buy. And if they withdraw, what are you going to do? Withdraw your stablecoin, cash out for real world money? Sure, you do you. But I think now's a great time to be preparing for what's coming next in the upcoming months. Q4 bullish. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that. We also, by the way, in case you haven't noticed, USD Tether, I think is this record stablecoin market cap. People being bullish on Tether, expecting it to hit $5 or something. What is going on here? Market cap all time. Yeah, this is real. This is a real chart. So we have $175 billion in stable coins. And that's it. Like, people are just holding USDT right now. And that's a lot of money. This is record highs, okay? What are these people going to be doing with this money? They have to eventually buy. All this 170, I'm not going to say all of it, because I'm sure some people just normally use USD Tether for literal payments, just sending Tether to each other, because it's a stable coin. It's easy. It's $1. You don't got to worry about price fluctuations. The only thing you got to worry about is fees, depending on how you transfer it, which is probably with Ethereum, and Ethereum is expensive. Or maybe you can use Tron. But anyway, there's that going on for it. Yeah, a lot of this, even if it's a small chunk, some of it has to start going into the altcoins or any other cryptocurrency. Hopefully so. Forbes posted this article. Bitcoin is braced for $25 trillion price earthquake as the Dutch bank issues huge Fed prediction. They're expecting, summary of the article basically says, Dutch bank predicting Bitcoin could coexist with gold on central bank balance sheets by 2030, with gold's market cap at 25 trillion right now as a benchmark. If Bitcoin equates gold's market cap, that means Bitcoin will be above $1 million by then. Far above $1 million. It's easy math. I'm sure I've done this comparison before, but I'll do it again. Bitcoin's market cap, 2.2 trillion. Gold's market cap, 26 trillion. So we'll just round these numbers down. 20 trillion for gold, 2 trillion for Bitcoin. And let's just say Bitcoin costs $100,000. Okay. To get from 2 trillion to 20 trillion, what do you got to do? 10x, okay? If you 10x the price of Bitcoin too, because that's how the math works, 100,000 times 10, that's 1 million already. And then you bump up these numbers an extra whatever amounts you want. Gold is at 26 trillion, Bitcoin, yeah, far above 1 million by then. By 2030, you're a guaranteed millionaire if you do have 1 Bitcoin. Do you have $100,000? Did you have $20,000 a year and a half ago? That would have been cool. $800 million worth of longs will be getting liquidated if Bitcoin falls to 110,000. That's almost $1 billion. And 110,000, that's like all the way over here. Which by then, if that is the case, I mean, that could happen. And we would still be in an uptrend, realistically. Right? Like, this can happen. All these longs, $800 million gets liquidated. But we'll be fine. We'll still be in an uptrend. That's just like our lower high before we continue higher. Once again, there's a lot of people just bouncing on the opportunity to over leverage their positions as soon as they get the chance to. Anyway. This might be the XRP's demise. I clicked on XLM. Awesome. Can I click on XRP? No effect on the price, but this came out. Swift is working with Consensus blockchain prototype for cross-border payments. Swift, I'm sure you guys have probably heard it. It's used for international payments between institutions. I've used it before to send large amounts of transactional money, that kind of stuff, internationally. They're working with Consensus. But people were expecting XRP to be the blockchain that Swift uses for global international payments. That was the whole vision, I guess, of what people had for XRP. Not of XRP. I'm sure they have other visions, but one of the good uses of the blockchain, right? What is Swift payments going to be replaced by? People, first thing that comes into their mind, XRP blockchain. It has to be that. It's centralized, perfect for them, right? Well, wrong. Seems like they aren't just piloting, they're going straight for the jugular. Okay. The $150 trillion payments network is teaming up with Consensus, which is Ethereum and Linea backer, plus 30 global banks to build a blockchain settlement system for real-time cross-border payments. Also, the thing with Swift, it does take the usual 3 to 5 business days or whatever. Meanwhile, Chainlink is already in play, piloting tokenized asset settlements through Swift Rails using the Link infrastructure. Smart move. Ripple, you've built Rails for a decade. Now the old gatekeeper is directly building new ones with Web3 partners. This is the arena you must dominate. All eyes on your next move. Let's go XRP. So I think Swift did eat Ripple's lunch. They spent a decade competing with Swift. Now Swift just leveled up. Oh boy. This could be a good thing, though. I understand it. Okay. XRP will now probably be incentivized to improve their blockchain to compete with whatever Swift is doing in this case. Earn 1% of Swift. Even 1% of Swift volume equals 1.5 trillion on-chain flows, which is bigger than all stablecoin payments last year when adjusted for share. That is true. Swift volume is significant. For Ripple, it's not the end, but it's their biggest test yet. So we'll see what Ripple does to all of this. they're considering launching a stablecoin without mentioning any particular network. I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. Another thing that has to do with Ripple here, they team up with Ondo, which we know is, tokenized stocks blockchain, right? But they're working to tokenize US treasuries on the XRP ledger. That'll be interesting. World Liberty Finance, this is part of the reason why they were shooting up over the weekend over here, and I should have taken advantage, but whatever. I got late into the news. It is what it is. They burned 7.89 million tokens worth $1.06 million over the weekend. I'm sure I did, notice that initially, but whatever. I didn't know we were going to top out. Didn't give me a sell indicator either way. I'm hoping it's bounce right over here as a support and we continue higher and hit my take profit. Surely that's the case. Maybe the stablecoin thing tomorrow from FTX will help with that. Aster flipped Hyperliquid's 30-day fees. You're going to think, oh, that's not good. Aster having more fees than Hyperliquid in 30 days? Not necessarily. And CZ came out to clarify this, of course. He's really pushing this whole Aster DEX thing really hard. Aster's per trade fees are lower and cheaper for users. So the fact that they have lower fees than something like Hyperliquid, I guess is what they're talking about. And the fact that there's more fees that have accumulated in 30 days for Aster than Hyperliquid, the fact that Aster is cheaper, means that there's more volume, of course, more transactions, more trades being done on Aster than Hyperliquid. And that is basically confirmed. We do see lots of posts talking about volume between the two. Aster, due to its popularity right now, is flipping Hype in volume in that case. But it's not over for Hype. I still think Hype is still going to remain on top, honestly. And they're getting started with NFTs already. They're called Hyper NFTs. Also something I kind of alluded to yesterday, unintentionally, by the way. I'm not committing any wizardry over here. I talked about Hyper Scan, not this Hyper NFT, but anyway, Hyper NFT airdrop. It just dropped. The floor price. The floor price sits at 1,458 Hyperliquids, which is $68,000 for a darn cat in a Hyperliquid suit on OpenSea. If you care about NFTs, will NFTs make a comeback? That's a hard question to answer. And just last bit of news, but YouTube agrees to pay $24.5 million to settle a lawsuit for suspending President Trump's account in 2021. Remember, Trump got banned on Twitter, Facebook, apparently YouTube as well. But there was this recent rollback that YouTube was doing where they will be reinstating a lot of accounts that they banned for things like political reasons and stuff like that. I don't know if it was fully into effect yet, but they're starting to allow free speech kind of back on the platform, right? Hopefully so, right? I don't like restricting users due to free speech. I'm now on YouTube and I am a part of it, so I don't want to be affected by it for misspeaking or one unfortunate phrase that comes out of my mouth and I'll get banned on YouTube. All my hard work. I don't want that to happen. So, yeah, little by little. $24.5 million for Donald Trump, huh? Let's hope he buys Bitcoin with that or something. We're still on the rise. 114,600. Okay. That's all the news I have for today. Government shutdown is what we got to pay attention to. And $5 billion in stablecoins will be flooding the market, which is a good thing. If people sell stablecoins, it doesn't impact the price at all. If they cash out. If they use those stablecoins to buy more crypto, you're buying crypto with crypto. You already have crypto. You might as well buy more crypto. That'll be good for our bags. Overall, my final verdict. You know what? Fine. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. But I think we could see a slow rise tomorrow morning. Just overall a green day, a slow rise up. I don't, okay, I don't know when Hamas will give their response to the Gaza plan. But if they decline it, that's not going to be good. If they accept it, then yeah, send it to the moon. And government shutdown, I think it's a nothing burger. I hope. 116,000 next target for tomorrow. If government shutdown does impact the economic data, though, that's gonna suck. And also the economic data itself, it's got to be decent. But that's until Friday. We got plenty of time before we start worrying about that. So yeah, keep your mind off it. Oh, I won't even be live tomorrow. I forgot it's Tuesday. So Wednesday. I guess Wednesday we'll indefinitely talk about that government shutdown, and we'll see what happened to the crypto markets. Anyways, forget my projection. I could be wrong. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Nobody knows. But given all this analysis that I provided, everything looks good. Everything looks fine. ETFs, I didn't even mention it at all this stream. But yeah, ETFs getting approved for a lot of altcoins. We're expecting that in October. I'm sure people will start to price that in as the optimism kicks into the markets. Kicks back into the markets. Yeah. We'll see. So yeah, that concludes the stream, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe. I will see you tomorrow. No, I won't. I'll see you on Wednesday. Till then, have a great rest of your evening.